I'm getting old, but these guys are getting older. Welcome back to the False Nine TV channel. If it's your first time watching one of my videos, welcome. I appreciate you. If you are a return customer, welcome. I appreciate you even more. So, that said, today we're going to be talking about players that we could be watching their final few games. Now, what gave me inspiration for this video was watching Major League Soccer playoffs. And if you don't know what it is, trust me, you don't want to know. It's ridiculous. But there are leagues that don't fall into the traditional FIFA calendar. There are some leagues like the Brazilian League, the leagues here in the United States. I believe the Norwegian League, the Swedish League, the Irish League. A lot of South American teams they start around February and play to around right now, November, sometime even into December. And it got me thinking, what players are we about to see wrap up their career, especially in 2026? Not necessarily right now, this day, but what players is next year probably going to be their last hurrah? So that said, these aren't going to be players that are in the 19th division of the English Football League or something like that. These are going to be players that you've heard of, that may have been outside the spotlight for a little bit. These are all going to be, well, most of these guys you should have heard of anyway. They may not be playing in leagues that you know of anymore, but most of these guys you have heard of. So let's get into today's video with 10 guys that you should watch while you can, because our time is very limited with them. So starting off at number 10 on my list, and these are not in any type of order, by the way, they're just kind of random. We've got Charlie Austin, and it seems like just yesterday he was playing hero for Queens Park Rangers, or going on that rant when he played for Southampton. But the past 3 years have been, I don't want to say weird, but they've been very unconventional. He's now 36 years old. In 2022, he signed for the Australian League, Brisbane Roar, in which that only lasted less than 10 games. I don't have the exact number. And then he signed with Swindon, and then he went down quite a few leagues and played for, I could be saying this wrong, AFC Toten. And he most recently played for Basingstoke Town. Basingstoke Town. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. But funny enough, you learn things as you go. As of yesterday, he is no longer on the team by mutual consent. It appears that he has been approached by a team, or looking to be approached by a team that's closer to home. So take that as you will. I don't know what that means, but this goes right into my theme with today's video, where we have to enjoy them while we can. Did not know this literally until 2 seconds ago, that he has terminated his contract. And furthermore, emphasizing when I mean that we have to really, really, if these are one of your players that you've enjoyed watching or has made memories for you, time's almost up. And what Charlie Austin is going to do, let me see if I can get the exact words here. It says, he departed the club on the 31st of October following an approach from a club closer to his home. So it does appear that he will be continuing his career, but how much longer is he going to continue his career? Time will tell, but I don't think we have very much time left with Charlie. It appears he's just playing for the love of the game at this point in the lower leagues. So if I were in England, I'd be going for the chance. I would love to go watch a lower league game and watch Charlie play and perhaps get to meet him. But I'm not. So whatever team he signs with, if you're lucky enough to get him play, just say that I'm a little jealous of you, and let's go ahead and move on to the next guy. So number 9 on my list, I've got one of my personal all-time favorite players, and that is Mario Balotelli. And if you know anything about Mario, you know that he is currently a free agent after his stint that didn't really go quite well with Genoa. And it was a bit of a bit of an interesting signing, especially when they hired Vieira right after that. And of course, they don't get along whatsoever. And of course, with Vieira's firing and Balotelli's Instagram post, you know that they probably still don't really like each other. But he's currently a free agent, and according to him, he wants to play competitively for about 2 more years, maybe three, and then he wants to eventually retire, playing with his younger brother. Um, but do teams want Mario Balotelli? That's the interesting part. From what I've seen, he's gotten interest from an Australian team and some Turkish teams. Now, believe what you want about those rumors, but I don't think we're going to see Balotelli playing at least at a decent level for 3 more years. I think he's about done. Whether it be because no teams want him or because his talent is just aged. So I've always thought it would be interesting to personally. I've always thought it'd be interesting to see him at Palermo. And if you know anything about and he may not want to do that. If you know anything about his younger life, he had a pretty rough upbringing, but he was born in Palermo on Sicily. Um, I think it'd be kind of cool to see him go back there where he was born and end his career at least on a decently top level. So next up at number 8, I've got a name that, unlike a lot of other guys on my list, actually has a contract for not only this year but also next year, and I think even the year after that. And that is 36-year-old, about to be 37-year-old, Andy Carroll. And that is a name that if you are a supporter of a couple of clubs, it's going to probably get a little bit of a reaction out of you, and most likely a negative one. But I'm always going to remember Andy as the West Ham guy, even though I know a lot of his claim to fame came with Newcastle and Liverpool. But Andy, at this point, I mean, honestly, the past few years, I never necessarily had an opinion on him, other than we share the same last name. But he's kind of redeemed himself as a decent guy in my at least in my book, because he signed with Bordeaux a few years back, who due to financial reasons were not even. I think they were considered semi professional or semi professional. Gosh, what league were they at? The third, fourth tier, or something like that in France. And I saw actually, I didn't watch the games, but I've seen quite a few highlights and extended highlights of his time there, and he definitely was on a talent level uh, a lot better than a lot of the other guys in the league and the teams they were playing against. It was almost get the ball to Andy was their seemed to be their tactics. So he recently signed, well, not recently, but this past year, summer, he signed with Dagenham Redbridge. And from what I understand, he actually has a stake of ownership in the club. So that's the only reason I'm hesitant to put him on the list, is because if he does have a stake in the club, it seems as if he's going to be able to essentially play out this contract if he wants to. At least he brings a big name to the club, which I'm not entirely sure where the club is at now in terms of the football pyramid. It looks like they are in the National League South. Okay, so they're a couple leagues below English football, the English Football League. So last I heard, Andy was hurt, and I know a lot of you are saying "go figure" right now. But he does bring some name power to the club, and if he does have some ownership to the club, at least he's bringing in some money, which is never a bad thing, especially for any team in the lower leagues, even if you're not a fan of them. But depending on if he can stay healthy or not, my issue with Andy is, can his body hold up? And I know a lot of you are saying his body's never been able to hold up, but at going to be 37 years old at the turn of the new year, injuries might force him to hang it up, and if he does hang it up, I can't help but wonder if he's going to get into coaching for the club. But anyway, if he does get back on the field, enjoy him while you got him, because he's one injury away from saying bye. So coming in at number 7, which is honestly probably my favorite active non-goalkeeper, which is Edison Cavani, El Matador. And I fell in love with Cavani back in his time at Palermo and watched him. I didn't watch him much in Napoli. Watched him play a lot for Paris Saint-Germain and become the all-time leading goal scorer there, which I believe Zlatan. He passed Zlatan for the lead, and then I think he's been surpassed by Mbappe since then. But I didn't watch him much at Man United or Valencia, but I have seen him quite a bit at Boca, and he he came in. It seemed like it took him a while to get adjusted, but once he got adjusted, he returned to being El Matador. But I've definitely seen him slow down as of late, and his contract expires next year in 2026. And um, he, and if you don't know, Boca is in Argentina, and they play the non-traditional FIFA schedule, which is from roughly February to roughly November. And his contract expires in December of next year. So, and he turns 39 February of next year. So, is he going to play past next year? Um, unless he lights it up next year, I find it hard to believe that he is. And the only way I could see him playing past this year is if he goes and signs with one of the local clubs in Uruguay or where he started his career at, as perhaps a one last victory lap on your career type of thing. But if you're able to watch Boca Junior games wherever you live at, and you're a fan of Edison Cavani, I would urge you to watch as much as you can next year because I think there is a 99% chance that next year we will be the last time we'll be able to watch him on the pitch. So Edison Cavani, I hate to say it, but I think his time is up. So at number 6, and you already know I had to throw a goalkeeper in. But don't worry, I didn't let my evil thoughts get to me. It's the only goalkeeper on the list. And yes, I probably could have made this entire list goalkeepers, but I'm keeping it unbiased. Okay. So we probably have one of the most unique upbringings on my list, which is a player born in Yugoslavia, moved to Canada at 10 years old, has an American wife, and represents Bosnia and Herzegovina. And of course, that is none other than Asmir Begovic. And the reason I have him on my list is, and if you don't know who Asmir is, he made a name for himself at Stoke and Bournemouth, and even had a few stops at Milan and even Azerbaijan. But his most recent, I want to say the end of his career as a starter was Queens Park Rangers, where he started there for, I believe, 2 years, from 2013 to 14. It may have been 1 year, but found himself at Everton last year, and then he signed with Leicester City this year. And he's pretty much been on a 1 year. He's pretty much been a 1 year deal kind of guy, especially at his age right now. It looks like he turns 39. So if he elects to play past this season, it would be his 39th age 39 year. But yeah, some people don't. I believe he's one of the more unappreciated goalkeepers of our time. Um, if you've ever heard him on any podcast or any interview, he's a very well spoken guy. Seems like he brings a lot of leadership to any club that he's on, which I believe is why he's hung around this long, being an Everton backup twice, a Leicester City backup. I believe that's why AC Milan brought him in back in 2020 when they were trying to do a bit of a culture change when they brought him and Zlatan in. But I just think he's a wealth of knowledge, and I have a lot of respect for him. He's one of the guys that I love listening to, and I think probably my favorite interview with him was a podcast where he went on. Oh gosh, why is the name? why is the name the Wrexham ended it? I can't think of his name. Foscast Foster. Goodness, I can't think of his name. But he has an interview on the Foscast, which is pretty eye opening, and he's very well spoken about his career. But I believe if he wants to continue playing, I think it's going to have to be at the championship or even lower. Um, I just don't see it getting past this year. At number 5, I've got a guy that's going to be it's going to be a sad day for all fans when this guy calls it quits, and that's Jamie Vardy. And that sounds a little crazy to have him on this list, especially since today he just scored against Juventus. But the thing with Vardy is he's only on a 1-year deal right now. And how well is he liking Italy? I have no idea. Only he knows that. And of course, he's going to say one thing in the media. His wife's going to say something in the media, but only they know how they actually are liking life outside of England, right? So the reason I have him on this list is what if they don't like Italy or what if he falls flat in the second half of the season? I mean, right now he's got 2 goals. He's not had a whole lot of playing time, granted, but I I was actually very. This one surprised me to see him go to Italy. I thought he would. I thought it was a golden opportunity for him to go with some sort of Red Bull club, whether it be MLS or Leeds. But my issue with Vardy playing after this season is if he does elect to, or if Italy doesn't work out, right? Then what? I don't think he's a Premier League player anymore. I think he's got some moments where he could contribute, but I don't think he's a full time Premier League player, and that leaves the championship. I don't, obviously at this point in his career, I mean, he's going to be 39 at the start of, well, actually in about 2 months, he's going to be 39 years old. And, with Leicester, I believe he would have stayed with them even if they went down to League One. But is he willing to go to a team that's not in the Premier League, that's not Leicester? Or I mean, in the Championship, that's not Leicester. I don't think he would. And I don't. From that standpoint, I think this is more of a. Maybe it's me hoping, but I don't see him. I don't see him wanting to play for a team that's not Leicester if he goes back to England. And if Italy doesn't work out, I don't see him playing anywhere else. So that said, that's why I've got Jamie Vardy on this list, although I hope I'm very wrong and we do get to enjoy Jamie Vardy for a couple more seasons. Now, at number 4 on my list, I've got the man, the myth, the legend, Roque Santa Cruz, who was playing for Bayern Munich in the 90s, playing for Paraguay in the 90s, which maybe before even a lot of you watching this video was even born. So the crazy thing about this is he currently plays for Paraguay at Club Libertad. And there are rumors, and they play on that typical, or the not the typical, but the non-traditional FIFA schedule that I've mentioned a few times in this, from February-ish to December-ish. So Club Libertad, I believe they have 6 games left this season, and there are rumors that he does want to play again next year. And if he does play again next year, that will be his age 45 season. So he could be scoring some goals at age 45 in the Paraguayan Primera División next year. Now, if he doesn't do that, we've got 6 games left to enjoy him. Roughly 6 games left. I don't have the number right in front of me. But even if he does come back next year, I believe that is genuinely it, because they do have 3 legends on their club right now, and their fans are getting a little a little anxious, I guess you could say, in trying to push out some of these older guys because their goalkeeper right now is 40, I believe 41 or 42 years old. They have, believe it or not, they have another striker who's in their 40s as well, Oscar Cardoso, who's not on this list, by the way. Neither is the goalkeeper, although I could have put them on the list. But Roque Santa Cruz, I believe he's got one more season in, if I had to guess. But either way, we've got very, very limited time with him. He's obviously a legend. He's played for Man City, Blackburn, back when they were actually a decent club. Bayern Munich, Malaga. He's even played for um, Malaga, Cruz Azul, Olympia. He's got, gosh, maybe 200 appearances for Olympia. I believe for Libertad, he's closing in on 150 appearances. So, absolute legend across Europe and South America. So, it's another one of those guys that is going to be a sad day when he calls it quits. I believe he may be the only. I could be wrong on this one, but there can't be many left. He represented Paraguay in the 2002 World Cup. If he's not the only one left, I mean, there can't be that many left. So definitely a legend. Now, going into the top three, and again, these aren't in any order, we've got one of the most legendary strikers probably ever, and that's Luis Suarez. And even when he was in pain at Gremio a few years back, he was still very good in the Brazilian league. And then even into his not this year but last year, he came in and Inter Miami and performed quite well, mostly, even though you could tell he was in pain. This year has been a different story, however. He still did get 10 goals, I believe, in the regular season, which is fine, but that's not Luis Suarez. And if you put Luis Suarez on a team where he's not with a lot of guys he's familiar with, that's a scary thought at this point. How old? Let me see here, actually. Next year would be Luis Suarez's. How old would he be? He would be, okay, so he turns 39 in about 2 months. And from what I understand, I'm not the most well-versed person in terms of Major League Soccer news, but from what I understand, he has been offered a contract for next season, a one-year deal for next season. And from what I can gather, it seems like most people are okay with this as long as he doesn't come in as a bona fide starter like he has been. And at this point, I believe that's probably what he is. Uh, it's sad to see his knee not hold up at this point because if he wasn't having knee issues, I believe he would be right up there with Messi for the Golden Boots. But sadly, he just doesn't have the legs anymore. But that said, because we haven't had any kind of, and he does, if anyone deserves a retirement ceremony kind of send off, it's definitely Luis Suarez. But because we haven't had one this year, that leads me to believe that he is going to come back for next year. But I believe next year's it. So if you are a fan of Luis Suarez, you better get your channel to watch Major League Soccer because next year is going to be his farewell tour. Now, number two, and by the way, if you made it this far, you may as well go ahead and hit subscribe if you haven't already. But at number two, we're going to move from a Barcelona legend to a Real Madrid legend, and we're going to be talking about Sergio Ramos, one of the most feared defenders in the history of football. Currently, he is playing for Monterrey in Mexico in Liga MX, and he's only on a one-year deal, so his contract does technically expire next month. But from what I understand, there's mutual interest to sign next year, and next year would be his age 40 season. So he doesn't have many left. Because there is mutual interest, I'm going to assume that he will play next year. But don't be surprised if next year is not the final hurrah for Sergio Ramos because he doesn't. I don't quite take him for someone who's going to want to overstay his welcome, especially when he's not able to do the things he does. but he's still a very good defender. I believe he's enjoyed playing in a lot of the tournaments that he gets to play in Liga MX, and that life has brought him. So I believe he's going to stick around for one more year, but his time is ticking. The clock is almost on the little what do you call those little sand things? The sand is almost over, so we got to enjoy one of the most feared men before he goes to his musical career. At number one on my list, and yes, you've probably noticed it get darker if you've made it this far. I've literally been filming this video since the sun was up. It is now down. But number one on my list is King Kazu Miura, and he is currently 58 years old, playing in the 4th division in Japan. Well, he's on loan to the 4th division in Japan. He's still technically a player for Yokohama FC. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he's been there since 2005. And I'm going to be honest with you, he's not, in terms of his stats, it doesn't look like he's been a real threat since 2001. And believe it or not, his professional career started way back in 1986, way before me and my wife were born. And I mean, he's had actually a very interesting career. He's played for clubs like Dinamo Zagreb, Vissel Kobe, which you may know for signing legends like David Villa, Iniesta in the past. He's played for Santos. Sydney FC. I mean, I know that may not be a legendary club, but it's a pretty well-known club in Australia. His Japanese national team career started in 1990. Let me see. I actually wrote this down. He's only scored. He's a striker, by the way. He's only scored 2 goals since 2017. Let that sink in. 2 goals since 2017 as a striker. So at this point, it's more of a celebrity type status type deal. If I had to guess, if I remember correctly, the club tried to force him into retirement, and the supporters threw a fit and made the club re-sign him. I don't know what year that was, but at this point, I'm going to say he's pretty much got a lifetime contract. If I'm not mistaken, at some point, his brother, who is younger than him, was his manager. I don't know if that's at Yokohama or if that was one of his on loanee clubs. Maybe that's on the club he's at right now. I don't know. Someone let me know in the comments if you know. But if he does play next year, it will be his age 59-year-old season. Living the dream. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. At this point, I'm going to keep my goodbye short because this video is super long. Subscribe, hit like, comment, and whatever you were hoping for to happen this week, I hope it happens. Be safe, guys.